Hello! What's going on, Time Travelers? Time Travel Gamer here today with something totally different. As you can tell by the title, this isn't a gameplay, it's a movie review by request of a good friend of mine who thinks this was a good idea, and me, always being open to trying new things, I figured why not. So today, for my first movie review, we're going to be talking about a movie that completely Hollywoodized, Hollywooded one of the best gaming franchises ever, being none other than good old Max Payne. Let's jump in this. I just want to tell you guys this right now. I don't feel like editing anything, so we're going to try to make this one take and as best as we can. Let's do this. I remember when I first saw this movie. I was in the middle of playing the game on PlayStation 2 and my mother brought a copy home from work. Playing hours upon hours of gameplay, obviously I was fully invested into the character, the aspect of the game, and the story. So I was excited going into it, but 9-year-old me was only met with disappointment. No 9-year-old can critique a movie, especially me who at the time thought that Mortal Kombat was a perfect masterpiece. Which I still think it is a masterpiece, but it had so many flaws and it could have been so much better. Plus it was rated PG-13, just like Max Payne. However, rather than being a cheesy yet amazing and watchable form of an excellent game like Mortal Kombat movie was, it was completely off track of what Max Payne was about. A man's family gets murdered, gets loaded on painkillers and goes out to get his revenge, killing criminals who deal with drugs and the crime bosses who supplies them. And he uncovers all these conspiracies surrounding who's responsible, going from place to place until he eventually finds out this big tycoon of sorts is responsible for the distribution of the drugs. However, what the movie delivered was just some weird convoluted plot based around demons and angels, which in-game, the demons and angels portion is either metaphorical or is only based around a mission and a half when you come across Jack Lapino. We'll get to that later. Anyways, the action of this movie just seems pretty full, and the movie just felt stretched out. The action was dull, and the movie just felt stretched out, I mean. Kind of like when you take some putty and you pull it as far as it can go and it gets weaker, then it reaches its limit and it just starts to tear or whatever, and that's kind of what the action in this movie felt like. It was played out. What confuses me with video game movies is that they always have the entire story on a silver platter handed to them. However, the directors and filmmakers somehow manage to still goof it up. Probably because the bigs at Hollywood, I guess they have this mindset that they can do it better or they can make it better. Which in almost every case that we've seen, it never works. I mean, there's a few parts in the movie where they have Mark fighting some winged creature, which kind of just shows to me that the director took the metaphor of angels and demons very literally or didn't pay attention to the game itself. Which I can build upon by mentioning a certain scene in which Mark uses bullet time for what lasted a whole minute and a half. Now don't get me wrong, bullet time happens a lot, quote unquote bullet time happens a lot in this movie. But there's one scene in particular where it's just dragged on and completely nullifies what bullet time is in the game. If you've seen The Matrix, a John Woo movie, or any movie that has a slow-mo scene, you'll know that it should not have lasted as long as it has. I would give a spoiler warning, but trust me, it's better if you hear it from me rather than you sit through it and watch it on its own. Because, I mean, if you expect one major thing that Max Payne can do, which is bullet time to be in there, no, they do it wrong. They don't even do it correctly. You know, it's not even like, oh, bullet time for fan service, so they say they got it right, but all it does is just add an unnecessarily long, goofy scene and just another error to the movie, so whatever. I'm not just gonna go in here bashing this movie over the head with a spiked mallet. I will say, the movie is not full of disappointment. I did like the office shootout scene because the choreography of the whole thing was pretty entertaining. It was goofy. The bullet time ruined it, but it did give it a goofiness enough for me to say that I did like this part. I do wish that when he showed up, someone would have yelled, "It's Pain!" You know, that would have been the icing on the cake, but still, I won't nitpick. I can't afford to nitpick on this movie. Cinematography was amazing. I don't really agree with the casting, but Mark Wahlberg did an excellent job. He really tried with the character, and the cinematography of his character, it came along pretty well. The action in this movie was pretty lackluster and boring all the way around. It just seemed like they tried too hard. It's like the opposite of a Mel Gibson movie in this case. But, you know, I do love how they managed to make New York look like the video games. Very noir-esque, and it just looked like there are drug addicts in every restroom. And every time you go into one, it screams, "It is Wednesday, my dudes," and make a really loud noise as soon as they're confronted. So I do give it that. And, you know, in game, Max Payne does have hallucination scenes. And, you know, after he's drugged by Mona, by the Valkyrie and all that, you know, V, as a lot of people call it, it's a green drug that sends you off the rails, usually in pill form or in the form of like a needle or whatever. And, you know, it's basically modified LSD or heroin. You know, he does have the hallucination scenes. However, in the movie, it's just pretty much blue Windex, because in a PG-13 movie, you know, maybe pills or needles would have been too far, despite everything else in this movie. But, you know, regardless of that, I do think the hallucination scenes in the movie were pretty cool. A little bit over the top and beyond the metaphors of the game, but, you know, still enjoyable. They did, and I will give them this, they did stay true to some aspects of the game, and by some, very poorly. And that's not really saying a lot when I say some, you know. Of course, he loses his wife to some drug addicts, and he becomes a DEA agent and goes on the spree to find the source. At least that's what I thought when I was watching the movie. But of course, this does bring us to Jack Lupino. Very briefly, let's say everyone who's here, they've watched the gameplay, they'll remember this Jack Lupino scene that editing me will put on screen. He's this occultist, drug addict / dealer who's dwindling in some really satanic shit. Like, you know, he's cutting himself, really strung out and overpowered in the game. Really overpowered. But in the movie, they decided to make him way over the top, super cartoonish, that it's almost embarrassing. That I'm sure if the people who made the game were to watch that part, they'll be like, Jesus Christ, and roll their eyes. I'm just saying, it was too much. But that's not the only character that they decided to do either too much with or unnecessarily do things with. Like in the game, there's this character named Jim. I don't remember his name. I don't know if it's Bruma. It's probably something of the sorts. I'll figure it out later. Anyway, in game, him and Max Payne have quite a few talks over the phone, not too much face-to-face time. As you guys see on the channel, I haven't finished the game yet, so maybe I'm wrong, but so far, from what I've experienced, they're only phone buddies. However, in the Max Payne movie, Max and Jim, they have quite a lot of interaction with each other. And Jim, played by Ludacris, which is a very poor casting choice, he just feels so out of place, and like Luda just doesn't seem like he wants to be there. Like, he seems confused, almost as if he knows he just doesn't belong. Maybe because in the game, he never has too much face-to-face action with Max, so the director didn't really have much of a clue on what to do with their same time screen time. But who knows? It just really felt off. And now, for my least favorite part of the movie, which I feel really took away from what little relationship it had with the game, there's the plot, which is, you know, kind of important. Originally in the game, there's this guy named BB, who was Max's partner in the beginning of the game for some time, who turns out to be a bad guy working under the big corporation or tycoon that I mentioned earlier. This eventually leads to Max learning about the others responsible, that finally leads to him figuring out about the higher-ups. And of course, you eventually kill him in the game. I did this mission in an earlier episode also. It's a huge plot point. But in the movie, they completely cut off gaming ties altogether by making BB the one who killed Max's wife and daughter by himself. BB was the one who went into Max's house, killed his family with his own two hands, which ruined the plot. It ruined literally 50% of the rest, not even that, 70% of the rest of the game. Because, I mean, the film tried to explain how BB was in big ties with this tycoon lady, who I should mention was a huge part of the story. She only pops up in one scene, by the way, I assume for fan service or to make it seem like they kind of knew what they were doing, even though they didn't, but who knows. Of course, in the movie, Max has to hunt and kill BB because, according to the movie, BB wanted to kill Max's family because when Max was a cop, him and the crew were onto him about something with this whole drug busting thing, I guess, and it was a cover-up? I don't really know, but the way that they pieced this all together is just so poorly written and pathetic that it's stupid. Check this out. So Max ends up getting this big old flashback, kind of like in the cartoons when they tell their memory stories, with the exception of the music and the wobbly screen. Whatever though, Max gets this dumb revelation where he's back in his house and he hears gunshots from up in his room or his wife's room or whatever. And he runs up there to see the culprit jumping out of the window, fleeing. And instead of shooting, taking his gun out and pointing the gun, opening fire, or even running after him, he looks over at this like kaleidoscope glass diamond thingy and he sees that it's BB. And that's it. That's how he figures it out. And that's so trash. They got rid of all the corporate thugs, the middlemen who's in between the corporate and the junkies, and they even got rid of the Russian mafia guy, Boris, who assisted Max in the game. Important parts of game lore just gutted and thrown into the trash like turkey and it's on Thanksgiving. Even the senator who wants the corruption and drugs out of the city and helps Max is thrown away. Important parts removed. And I feel like they simply wanted to make time for the trashy slow-mo things they call bullet time. And like I mentioned before, it's not just a one-time thing. It's not even a thing that happens twice so fans can say, yeah, they got that right. Because not only do they do it wrong, several times they used it in every single action scene in the movie. And it's so irritating. Matrix has done slow motion correctly. Inception has done an amazing job at it. Stranglehold did a great job at it. Dread was perfect at executing slow motion. But then you get to Max Payne, and not only do they overuse it, they use it poorly. And I hate that. Speaking of things that I hate that they did poorly, back to more characters they did something wrong with. Mona Sachs. The sassy badass femme that pops up now and again, exchanges small talk with Max, you get a little small sexual tension here and there, then she's out. Nothing too serious, she never comes off as a love interest, she's just, ooh, it's Mona. But, she's almost like the female him in Max's eyes, and equal, to say the least. But in the movie, casted by Mila Kunis, for some reason, I just don't know, Mona is there all of the time, just kind of around, I guess. Like, there's no reason for her to be around. She's literally just a character that comes around at convenient yet pretty fun times in the game. We see her a couple of chapters later. That's it. She benefits no one or nothing by being in the movie as much as she is. Mila doesn't even portray Mona the right way, honestly. I mean, at least in Ted, I do enjoy Mark Wahlberg and Mila together. There's some very funny movies, those Ted joints, I'm not gonna lie. I might watch them tonight, honestly. Fill my head with something good and worth watching. Bottom line though, guys, Max Payne is just a pretty poor movie. Not all that good. I did like Marcus Max, like I said, I feel like he tried his best. I actually heard that to get into character, he paid someone to play the game, and he sat and watched, which is pretty cool. I mean, I would love to have Mark Wahlberg watch me play video games. I just wish he had more control. Maybe he could have said, hey, that didn't happen, or hey, that's not how that part went, but hey, it wasn't his movie. Like I said, I did enjoy the cinematography. The climax was really ruined by another slow-mo scene, at the end when Max confronts BB on the roof and he shoots him. Them putting it in slow motion once again. Honestly, if this scene only was in slow motion and not another scene, this probably would have been pretty good ending. Of course, it just felt like a punch in the face because, oh, they were like, oh yeah, tired of our slow motion yet? Here's another one, and I just didn't like that. A lot of the character portrayal was poor, the things they took out made the movie feel lackluster, and then basically just making a revenge movie with Max Payne title on it. You know, without the title, you'd probably see similarities that could maybe be like, oh, maybe Max Payne was inspiration. No, John Wick was a better Max Payne movie than this. Honestly, but seriously, all in all, I give this movie a 3.5 out of 10. It is better than most video game movies, I'll give it that. Mortal Kombat Annihilation was very poor and it hurt my soul so much. The Street Fighter movie was also no good. Goofy, but not in the I should watch this again goofy, no. Even more recent titles after that, like the Prince of Persia movie that came out a few years later that I'm sure no one remembers because even Disney disowned that movie. And Angelina Jolie from the original Tomb Raider movies were horrible adaptations. Do I recommend you watch Max Payne? No. Play the game. It's like $3 on GOG.com. Any computer can run the game. It's like $10 on PlayStation 4. You can get it from there through PlayStation emulation. Just get the best story you can by playing from the true source material. I'm gonna go watch some good stuff now to forget this movie because it's pretty fresh in mind. I don't like that. Anyways, I love you guys. Please like, share, comment, subscribe if you did enjoy this. If you'd like to see me do more reviews, let me know. I will have another video out on Friday. Jedi Knights, Jedi Academy, Road to Killing Rush will be continuing on Friday. And next week, Monday, we're getting something special. I hope you guys are looking forward to that. I will catch you guys later. Bye bye, time travelers. I'm about to go watch a good movie. Clear my mind of this. Peace.